in the sermon. Here's how it reads out of the CSB. It says, Lord, who can dwell in your tent? Who can live on your holy mountain? And then he goes on to answer these questions. He gives characteristics. The one who lives blamelessly, practices righteousness, and acknowledges the truth in his heart, who does not slander with his tongue, who does not harm his friend or discredit his neighbor. Here's verse number 4. Who despises the one rejected by the Lord, but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps his word, whatever the cost. Amen. God's Who's Who list, part 3. You may be seated. So far in this sermon series, we have dealt with verses 2 and verses 3. In the first sermon, we discovered that the person that God allows to stand in his presence is the person who is right within himself or herself. And we said that was inwardly. That deals with the inner person. This person who is right with himself or herself inwardly lives blamelessly. That has to do with their character. But then they also practice righteousness, which has to do with their conduct. As a result of who they are determines what they do. That is their conduct. And then this person also acknowledges the truth in their heart, which speaks to true and total conversion. A person cannot speak the truth in their heart unless Jesus is in their heart. Even a broke clock is right twice a day, so you may get it right here and there, but without Jesus Christ, you will end up missing more times than you hit it. And then in sermon number 2, we discovered that the person that God allows to stand in his presence is the person who is right with his or her neighbor, and that is outwardly. That person who is right with their neighbor does not slander another person with their tongue. We discovered that to slander is to tear down somebody's reputation. It is to put mud on their name. Even more, it is to cast mud on their back. The picture of somebody who is slandering is kind of like an unfair fight. When I was growing up, every once in a while, if a brother had a problem with another brother and maybe he was a little afraid of him, what we call it is he's sneaking. He waited until he wasn't looking and then he'd punch him. And this is kind of what the slanderer does. They wait until the person thinks that they are their friend, and then all of a sudden they begin to throw mud on their back. They don't tend to do it in their face. Slander is always behind the back. And then we also learned that this person who is right with his neighbor does not harm his friend. That is, slander harms people. Slander breaks people's heart. You know, just when you think that somebody really likes you and then you hear that they said something about you, it can really break your heart, make you sad. It can do something to you. But this person who's right with his neighbor will not slander to cause harm to their friend. But then this person also does not discredit their neighbor. Slander also discredits or communicates that this person is untrustworthy, who you're talking about. And so it discredits, it devalues a person whenever we slander them. And so we looked at these under that one singular heading of slander. Everything that is mentioned above is a result of slander. Harm and discredit are a result of slander. And so we concluded, as God does, that slander is wrong. Is there anybody in here that believes that slander is a right thing to do? All right, so we all on the same page. Let's keep moving forward. So God will not permit a slanderous person to dwell in his presence. Here's why. A slanderous person is a member of Satan's family. I'm going to say that again. A slanderous person is a member of the family of Satan. On last week, I shared with you that the name devil means one who engages in slander. So this is what Satan does to the people of God. His name is devil because he's one who engages in slander. Satan slanders us. He slanders the people of God. Revelation 12:10 says, "For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down." Slandering the saints is a full-time job for Satan himself. I want to encourage you today that if there's someone that you know that is slandering you, I want you to cut them some slack, because they are not doing it at the rate of Satan. They may wake up tomorrow and slander you, but they might give you Tuesday and Wednesday without saying a word. But when it comes to Satan, Satan will slander you day and night before Almighty God. And just as God does not allow Satan to dwell in his presence because of this slanderous and evil character, God will not allow anyone that is like Satan to have fellowship with him either. Our verse today reveals another character trait of those whom God allows to enter into his presence or into his holiness, his glory. This person is the one who is not only right within himself or herself, not only right with their neighbor, but this person is also right with God. This is not inwardly or outwardly. This is a vertical relationship. This person is right with God. If you're taking notes, please write this down. The person that can stand in God's presence is the person who is right with God. This has to deal with your vertical relationship. Now, verse 4 is the heart of Psalm 15. It is the hinge on which the previous verses 2 and 3 hang, and it is the basis of the promise of stability in verse 5. Verse 5 says, "The one who does these things," in verses 4, 3, and 2, "will never be shaken." To exemplify the character traits in verses 2, 3, and 5, you need the power that's found in verse number 4. And that power is a right relationship with God. Now, I want everybody to look above your head just for a second. Just look up. In that ceiling, you see lights. Above our head are lights, and their purpose is to illuminate, to remove darkness. It makes it possible for us to see